But a lot of the ideas I was writing down were ideas from my childhood growing up in Fort Washington, Maryland. I was on the swim team, and I wasn't a very good swimmer, so what I'd do is I'd hide out from my coach in the locker room. Right? That's me, 1977, I think. And we wore these Speedos, you know. I don't know if they wear those anymore, but it was really cold in the locker room, so what I did was what any normal kid would do to get warm. I wrapped myself in toilet paper. Mom, if you're in the audience, I'm sure you're so proud. Oh, yeah, that's a picture right there. And so some of the ideas for Diary of a Wimpy Kid actually are kind of in my subconscious. I found this picture in my garage a few months ago. And this is a picture, bear with me on this, it's a picture of my high school girlfriend's mother who accidentally took a picture of herself when she grabbed the camera off of a shelf, right? And so she surprised herself. So years later, 15 years later, that picture shows up in one of my books when Greg's party, or actually Roderick's party, is blown. So all this time I was working on Diary of a Wimpy Kid for about 8 years before I showed it to anybody. I finally did. I took it to New York Comic Con, and I brought a sample packet, and it looked like this. And you can see it looks kind of boring, right? The reason it looks kind of boring is because I thought I was writing for grown-ups. I thought I was writing a book that adults would like, about looking back on your own childhood. And eventually my publisher said, you didn't write a book for grown-ups, you wrote a children's series. And so now here I am on the children's stage, right? I did not see it coming. Since the first book got published, yeah, you guys have it, cool. Since the first book got published, it's been published in 40 different languages, so I wanted to show you some of those covers. Here is the Korean version, the Greek version, the Hebrew version, which is printed from right to left. It's the only one I think that's printed from right to left. The Japanese version. Japanese version's very interesting because the characters all have 5 fingers. Usually cartoon characters have 4 fingers because it's sort of enough. But in Japan, there's a taboo. You're not allowed to draw characters or show images of characters with 4 fingers. So they added a 5th finger to each character. This one's good. It's the German version. I'm going to embarrass myself in front of German speakers. It's called Greg's Tagebuch von Idioten am Singort, right? Which means Greg's journal, I'm surrounded by idiots. And I said, well, why didn't you just call it Diary of a Wimpy Kid? And they said, well, we don't actually have a word for wimp in our country. So, I'm going to Germany in 2 weeks, so I'm excited for the first time. Here's a good one. This is the Brazilian version. And I was like, well, why did you call it? What does banana mean in your country? And they said, it means banana. So you learn something new every day. So I want to talk to you guys about my 7th book, The Third Wheel. You guys want to see some images from that? Yeah. So here's the cover. It's brown. I think it's brown. It's chocolate brown, right? Because it's about Valentine's Day. And I'm going to show you, I start this book from the beginning of Greg's life. You know, the first book starts from middle school on, right? Well, this book starts from the beginning. And I mean the beginning, right? Greg claims to be able to remember everything about his life. And he says he was the happiest when he was, in there. And he was swimming around in the dark and he could take naps wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And then one day he heard this strange noise, right? Music coming from the outside. And what it was his mother putting these prenatal speakers on her belly, right? So he could become a genius by listening to classical music. And how many moms have done that, right? Oh, good number. We did it. We did it. You know, that's why babies wake up looking so cranky, is because they're sleep deprived. But I wanted to show you, I actually do my drawings digitally, so here's a rough draft. And I do everything by computer, so these are the only rough drafts I've ever saved. And so what I do is I draw in different colors, and then I keep drawing over it. So if you look at this picture, this is a picture of a family-style restaurant coming into focus. And if he says that doesn't look like one, how many people have been to a Friendly's or a right? So this is my version of a family-style restaurant. And if you look really closely at this picture, it's going to give you a big hint about what this book is about. So I've gotten to do all sorts of really very cool things, including this. This is really a cool thing to come back to my hometown. One of the coolest things I got to do was a few months ago, I actually got to go to the White House, and I got to meet the president and his daughters and their Wimpy Kid band, so that's cool. And so this is me and my two sons, Will and Grant, right? And I told them, I was like, listen, I'll let you sit up there with me, but you have to behave. You cannot do anything wrong. You can't do anything wrong at all. And they promised and promised and promised. And they squirmed a lot, and they sat on their chairs, and they tipped their chairs back and all sorts of stuff. I didn't worry about it. They didn't speak out or anything like that, right? But when I got home, I went on the White House's website, right? And I played back the video and watched my kids squirm. But then there was a moment when I had Grant read to me. You know, he read from the book. And of course, anybody that's a big brother is thinking what Will's thinking right now. So on the White House website is my older son spanking my younger son. That's the lasting mark I'm going to make on the world, I think. So I said that there have been a lot of cool things I've gotten to do. I've gotten to speak at the Sydney Opera House and been all over the world. It's been a lot of fun. One of the coolest things I got to do is I got to make a balloon for the Macy's Day Parade. How many people have seen that? Thanksgiving Parade? Cool. That's right. And so here's literally a napkin sketch, you know, that I did on vacation. I drew it up in a few minutes, and that's Greg clutching his diary because he's very scared to be up that high, right? And that got turned into a clay model, and I'm working on this with my editor, and we're trying to make it just perfect because the balloon is actually almost as long as his tent. It's really big. We don't want to get anything wrong. And so here is the balloon floating at last year's parade, and we're getting ready to start the parade here. This is myself and my two brothers, Scott and Patrick, who who have been a big part of the Wimpy Kid experience. You can see I look like a dork because I've got my hat way on my head. Nobody told me. And then eventually the balloon got to fly down the streets of New York City. And the reason I wanted to end on this slide is because I want to inspire kids. You know, I'm a person, I'm a local guy with not a lot of talent, but I got to have my balloon in the Macy's Day Parade. I got to meet the president, and I just wanted to say to all the kids out there, or the adults, if you have a dream, just hang on to it and keep pressing on it, because maybe one day your ideas will fly as well. So, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I hope to meet you. I'm going to start signing way at the other end of the mall, but I hope to meet as many kids as I can. So thank you so much.
All right, Dylan, you ready to get up?